Between the Lines with Rob Reynolds, brought to you by the St. Louis Crisis Nursery, taking care of kids for over 50 years, and by R. Reynolds and Associates. For your insurance needs, both health and life, we have a plan for you. Give us a call, 636-734-8444. And by L&R Salon, for your cut, color, and all hair needs. Give Brenda a call, 636-734-8444. And now, Between the Lines. Good afternoon, friends. How you doing? Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all that kind of stuff. I've got some great things to talk to you about today. And to tell you the truth, this is a conversation that's very dear to my heart. We're going to talk a little bit about the beauty industry. Now, the beauty industry is where I spent my entire career. It's really what I grew up with. My dad was in the beauty industry. My mom was. A lot of my best friends, even today, are or were in the beauty industry. And to be honest with you, it was just a great, great place to grow up. Now, it's changed a lot in the last few years, but when I was there, you couldn't ask for a more uh, beautiful, see what I did there? Played on the beauty industry. Beautiful place to grow up. Well, I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that happen there in the beauty industry. And one of those is detailing. Now, I don't know if you know what that is, but detailing is one of those events that you take either a new product or you talk about the line and you go into a beauty salon with the salesperson and he introduces you, and then you are able to present this line or product or whatever you have to that hairstylist. And it's kind of a way of supporting them and letting them know that you, as a manufacturer, care about them and that you want them to sell and recommend your product. And I remember distinctly before I went out to do the detailing, because that's where they send you first, is you learn how to detail, learn what these customers about, and you get your bearings there. I remember talking to my trainer, whose name was Dixie. She's probably listening right now. And you always had to have a beginning, an end, and a middle. Actually, beginning, a middle, and an end. Sorry, Dixie. And get those in order about the product that you were going to promote. Well, I remember, and I remember things after you've gone out that first time. Some things that when that distributor salesperson picks you up, there are things to let you know right off it's going to be a tough day. Like if you get in the car and he picks you up and he says, "Well, it's going to be a busy day," and it's 6:45 in the morning, you don't even have your eyes open, much less thinking about a busy day. And then you manage to get the words out. How many calls you think we're going to make today? And he very quickly looks at you and says 36. I mean, your heart just like, oh my gosh, we won't be home till like 8 at night. That's like a 12-hour day in this car. And frankly, I want to go to these salons, but I don't want to talk to this guy for 12 hours. So you got to be ready for what you might get. And then once you get in these salons, well, you never know how these stylists are going to react. It's an art to know when to talk to them and when not to. Because if you talk to them at the wrong time or in front of a customer, or when they get all bent out of shape, and rightly so. And then some of them are just as nice as they can be, and some of them are as rude as they can be. I was in a salon one time down in Louisiana, and I forgot what we were promoting basically, but I think it may have been a new permanent wave or something like that. And I remember getting some time to talk to the owner. The owner was a guy, and I gave my pitch the best I could. And he said, "Listen, I don't like you guys. I don't like your product, and I don't want anything to do with it. And he took his hand and he swiped it off the counter, and it went all over the floor in a big rumble. And I just didn't really know what I was going to do. So here I was trying to pick up the pieces of this skincare, which was littered all over the floor. He's looking at me, standing over me like a lion ready to eat prey. And I looked up at him and I said, "Well, then I guess you wouldn't want to hear about our skincare, would you?" I mean, you got to have a sense of humor. I think he wanted to kill him. Needless to say, we didn't sell anything. We didn't sell a deal in that salon. The other thing you run into is when you're a detail person, you have to be a counselor, a listener, a pastor. You have to be all those things. I can't tell you the times that I've gotten in the car with a salesperson in the backwoods of Kentucky, and the first thing they say is, "Oh boy, it's a tough night. So bad, I thought I was going to hit my husband in the head with a bottle." And I'm like, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I may have to just hit him in the head with a bottle when he's not looking." And I said, "Oh, remind me not to make you too mad as we go throughout this day." The one another thing is that when you're dealing in the beauty industry, you also have detailing, but you also have shows. Shows are whenever stylists all get together, and then there's a guest artist that comes in and they show haircuts or hair color or whatever it may be on the stage. And you have to have a good artist. If you don't have a good artist, they're not going to listen to her or him, and it's just going to be a bust. Well, I used to work a lot with this artist, and her name was Viola. I'm not going to tell you your last name because one, it doesn't matter, and two, I don't want you to try to get a hold of her. But she she was going to do a series of shows for me, and they were out in the boondocks of Ohio. I think there were more Amish people than there were hairdressers. But I thought the best place to pick her up would be Columbus, Ohio. So she flew in there, and I picked her up, and she said, "Well, before we start on this, I need to pick up some things at the grocery store." I said, "Okay." So we went to the Big Bear. It was called the Big Bear supermarket over on Olentangy Drive. Well, we got in there and we were looking around, and she got whatever she needed. I don't know if it was some fruit or some pantyhose. I don't know what she was looking for. But anyway, she got all finished, and we went up to the checkout, and I noticed that she was checking out, and the little kid at the end of the aisle, he was about 15 or 16. He was transfixed on Viola. Now Viola had on tights. She had on pink lipstick, and she had purple hair. Now this kid had never seen anything quite like that before, I'm sure, because that's what his eyes had. That and a combination of terror was in his eyes. And well, she caught right on to that. And she said in her usual way, "What are you looking at?" You would have thought that this kid had seen Charlie Manson. He was so scared. He said, "Oh, no, no, nothing, nothing. Good. I don't like people looking at me." And that's how it started. And in the next 3 days, I was with Viola. And then that was only the first of many, many meals were spent with the waitress in Amish country going, "What in the tarnation is that woman doing in here with purple? I mean, purple bruise like hair." But I tell you what, she was a good artist. She sold a lot of stuff for you. And I'll never forget Viola as we talk about shows in the beauty industry. Well, I tell you, it's a very important part of my life, the beauty industry. I loved it. I'd go back to it in a minute. I'd recommend it then for anybody. I don't know if I would today, but I just had an absolute blast. I hope you enjoyed some of the things. Some of you that aren't familiar with it may thought, "Well, that was the most odd segment I've ever heard. But those of you that were in it, I hope can relate to some of those things. Well, we've reached the end of the line today on Between the Lines. We'll see you soon online with Between the Lines. So long, everyone.